Yeah, good morning, students. I hope I'm audible to both the sections because I'm in two different tabs here. Uh, yeah, thank you. Thank you, Sanket and Rakshanda, for responding. Yeah. Please, yeah, audible. Okay, fine. Thank you. Please note here, since I'm in two different tabs, one section I have sent through my official email ID. The other section is with my personal email ID. So I will not be able to go through the chat box. So if you are communicating any message there, I'll not be able to check. So please, whenever you want to say something, just unmute yourself and speak up. Okay. All right. I assume that it is understood. Um, Fine. So. Okay. So we are discussing today the single phase dual converter. Assuming that you have gone through the, one second, let me close this. Okay. You have gone through the recorded session previously shared. Today in this class, by the end of this class, you will be able to describe single phase dual converters. All right. So in the last class, we have already discussed the operation and working principle of full converters. So assuming that you have gone through and you have understood the working there, we'll be proceeding with single phase dual converters. So as the name indicates, it has two converters there. Dual stands for two. So it will have two full converters. Okay. So it's an electric device mostly found in variable speed drives. So its its application is to wherever you have to provide variable speed control to the motors with different applications. There you can imagine the dual converters coming into picture. Okay, it's a power electronics control system rather, wherein you can either get polarity DC from AC, that is rectification by the forward converter or the reverse converter. Okay, so we will discuss all these in the coming slides. So as this slide shows, as I said, you will have two full converters there. Okay, the supply which is connected both to the converters, or sometimes it will be you will have two separate supplies for converter 1 and converter 2, and as you can see, the load will be in the center. Okay. One second. All right. So mainly to understand the working principle there, it operates in two different modes. One is called non-circulating current mode, and the other is circulating mode or circulating current mode. So non-circulating current mode means where one converter will be performing at a time. So there will not be circulating current as such. All right. So one converter will be performing one operation, say based on the delay angle or the firing angle, what you give to the thyristors there in the converter. Okay, it can operate as a rectifier. All right. So where if your firing angle is between 0 to 90 degrees, then your output voltage and current both will be positive. Okay, assuming that you have understood the previous session. So in non-circulating current mode, the converter 2 and its firing angles of the thyristors used there will be sorry, here it is 90 to 180, not 0 to 90. Please note that it is 90 to 180, where VDC and IDC will be negative. That is, output voltage and output current will be negative. In circulating current mode, both the converters will be on simultaneously or together, So there you can have, or you can imagine that there will be circulating current in the whole circuit. So the firing angle should be adjusted in such a way that the delay angle or the firing angle alpha 1 of converter 1 and converter 2, okay, that is alpha 2. So the summation of both should be 180 degrees, all right. So as I said, again, converter 1 will be performing as a rectifier, where the firing angle alpha 1 will be between 0 to 90 degrees, and converter 2 will be acting or performing as an inverter, where its firing angle of the thyristors in the second converter will be between 90 and 180, all right. So the output can, that is voltage and current, can be positive or negative. So which means that, as we had discussed in the previous class, the full converter, we know that it operates in two quadrants, right? So here, since we are having two full converters, this dual converter will be operating in 4 quadrants. So it is called a 4-quadrant converter. So it is represented here. The 4-quadrant operation is shown here, where your output can be in, say, first, second, third, or fourth quadrants, based on whether it is a rectification or inversion process taking place. So we'll understand how it works. So the simple single phase dual converter circuit is shown here. As I mentioned, there will be there will be 2 converters. Okay, so you can see this is converter 1 and this is converter 2. In between you have load. So supply, a single phase supply will be connected here to converter 1. It can be the different supply can be connected to converter 2 here, or sometimes based on the application you can have a single supply to both the converters. All right. So this is a simple circuit what you can see here. This is a circuit what is there in the textbook. So observe the diagram here. If you observe carefully, as I said, the single phase dual converter is nothing but it contains 2 full converters connected in anti-parallel direction. So as I mentioned, single phase full converter is a 2-quadrant converter, right? So this dual converter, because it has 2 full converters, the dual converter will be operating as a 4-quadrant converter. It is called 4-quadrant converter. So the left side of the load is actually the first full converter, okay? And the circuit to the right side of the load is the second full converter. Observe the terminologies there, what I'm using. Left side is your full converter, that is converter 1, and right side is your full converter, converter 2. So therefore, we say two full converters are connected back to back in anti-parallel connection. Then the output voltage of both the converters and the current can be reversed. Okay, so that means that we can have both positive as well as negative values of output load voltage and output load current. Hence, you can obtain. Where is it? You can obtain 4-quadrant operation as shown here in the figure. Okay, so this circuit provides 4-quadrant operation and is therefore called a dual converter. And the name dual comes from the fact that we have 2 full converters, just for your information. So as I mentioned in the beginning, the dual converters are normally used in high power variable speed drives. Okay, that's the application. So let us please interrupt me whenever you feel I'm not reachable. Okay. I hope I'm reachable and you're with me. So whenever you feel I'm going fast or you're not able to catch with me, then please let me know. Okay. Because I'll be in full screen mode. I may not be able to check the chat box. So let us understand the operation there. So if alpha 1 of these thyristors T1, T2, T3, T4, okay, and alpha 2 of T1 dash, T2 dash, T3 dash, T4 dash, that is the delay angles of these converter 1 and converter 2, then the corresponding voltage, output voltage, that is average output voltage, can be named as VDC1 and VDC2, all right? Or here as shown here, V01 and V02, all right? The delay angles are controlled such that the converter 1 operates as a rectifier and the converter 2 operates as an inverter. I hope at this stage you should be able to understand when I say the delay angles are controlled in such a way that this converter operates as rectifier and this converter operates as an inverter, means you should be able to interpret it. Okay. I hope by the previous session you are in a state to understand that by controlling the delay angle, how can we make this converter operate as a rectifier and this as the inverter, because we have already discussed in the previous session. All right. So if we control the firing angles, that is alpha 1 and alpha 2 here, such that this converter is operating as rectifier and this converter is operating as inverter. However, both the converters should produce same average output voltage. Okay, note here, both the converters should and they will produce same average output voltage. All right. So therefore, if you look at the equations for the average output voltage, all right, based on the previous session again here, okay, the output voltage for the converter 1 and the converter 2, it is going to be same except that the firing angle. Observe here, VDC1, as I just mentioned, if this is the average output voltage for the converter 1, then it is given by 2 Vm by pi cos alpha 1. This we have derived in our previous session. And VDC2 is equal to 2 Vm by pi cos alpha 2. Okay, so if you note, both are almost same except the firing angles, that is alpha 1 and alpha 2, isn't it? So for converter 1, we have the average output voltage given as VDC1 is equal to 2 Vm by pi cos alpha 1. So since we have just stated that one of the converters will act as a rectifier while the other as an inverter, we can write these equations, equation 1 and 2, as VDC1 is equal to minus of VDC2, right? Yeah. So substituting that, that is equating RHS of equation 1 and 2. Observe that 2 Vm by pi gets cancelled. So you will have cos alpha 1 is equal to minus of cos alpha 2. Or in other words, we can also write it as cos alpha 2 is equal to minus of cos alpha 1. Both are same, right? Both are same. So from the trigonometric equation, we know that minus cos theta is equal to cos of pi minus theta, right? So from there, you can write minus cos alpha 1 can be written as cos of pi minus alpha 1, right? So from this equation, if you observe that, alpha 2 will be equal to pi minus alpha 1. Okay? So from this equation, equation number 4, I hope you are noting down the equation. From equation number 4, if you observe, alpha 1 plus alpha 2, which are the delay angles or the firing angles of converter 1 and converter 2, is equal to pi, which is nothing but 180 degree, which we mentioned at the beginning of the session, right? Alpha 1 plus alpha 2 is equal to 180 degree. What does it mean? That means that the thyristor, that is T1, T2 in converter 1 and T1 dash and T2 dash in converter 2 will operate at the phase angle difference of 180 degrees. Let me go back to the circuit here, right? Oh, okay. So the thyristors T1, T2, T3, T4 with the firing angle alpha, yeah, and T1 dash, T2 dash, T3 dash, T4 dash with the firing angle alpha 2, all right, they both will operate with a phase difference of 180 degrees. That's the meaning, right? So that is about the dual converter. Now coming to the instantaneous output voltage of these two converters, as we mentioned earlier, they will be out of phase. There will be an instantaneous voltage difference, right? And they will result in a circulating current. Let me go back to the circuit. So this circulating current between the two converters, in order to calculate that circulating current between the two converters, there will be some limiter, which we call it as circulating current reactors, LR, okay, which will be connected before the load in between the two converters, as you can observe in the circuit diagram here. Okay, so I'll repeat. Because the instantaneous output voltages of both the converters, converter 1 and converter 2, are out of phase, there will be instantaneous difference, that is voltage difference, and this will result in a circulating current in between the two converters. Okay, so this circulating current will not flow through the load. All right, normally it will be limited by this circulating current reactor LR. So to understand the working of the dual converter, we have to also look at what is this circulating current, which we call it as I naught, or the load current, right? So let's observe the waveforms here, or the output. So yeah, I would like to pause here and discuss something. Now tell me, bear with me, this is not for everyone. This is only for those who are not able to interpret these waveforms. Okay, as I have observed in your IA response sheets, many of you are not able to put across these waveforms. Now tell me, anyone who is comfortable explaining the waveform, can you come in? Can anyone explain how to draw the waveforms here? What do you understand? This is your input, right? V is equal to Vm sine omega t. So it is oscillating and it is varying like this. It is starting from 0 and till 2 pi it is shown here. So what do you interpret? What do you understand with that? Simple basic question. I'm asking a basic question, okay? Can anyone come in and tell me what do you understand with this waveform? If I say this is my input voltage, what do you understand with that? See, in x-axis you have omega t, in y-axis you have V. So what does it interpret? Are you there with me? Please don't put a message in chat box. I want you to unmute and speak. Here I'm pausing here to discuss because I observed most of the waveforms in your IA response sheets. It's very pathetic to look at the waveforms. I don't know what your understanding with waveforms. Please, can someone come in and explain? If I say this is my input voltage, what is that you are understanding? Please speak up. Please speak up. If you don't volunteer yourself, I have to call you. When we draw a waveform like this, what does it mean? Waveform is varying like this means what? Means what? It is already shown here. V is equal to Vm sine omega t. Come on. Should I understand that I'm not reaching you, or you're... Yeah, I know you people will not speak, so I have to call you guys. Let me call you. Yeah. Afreed? Mohammed Afreed. Mohammed Afreed, can you come in? Okay, Anisha, you're there? Yeah, please unmute and speak, Mohammed Afreed. Unmute yourself and speak up. Anisha, can you come in?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Did you get my question?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any answer for that?
It's basically a sine wave, and
Okay.
maximum voltage is Vm.
Okay. No, what I want to
Okay. I don't know exactly. Thyristor trigger is alpha. Hello? 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 Hello?
yeah, there was a call from HOD, so I had to attend that. Sorry for the interruption. Okay, where we? Yeah. Yeah, I was asking you, how to plot this waveform? Can anyone tell me? Oh, is it not? Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, thank you. Sure. Okay, yeah. Um, Fine. Yeah, please, can someone tell me? All right, let me put it. See, here we have V is equal to Vm sine omega t, right? Vm, obviously, it is the maximum amplitude what we have in this input signal, as it is shown there. So if you substitute omega t, as you can see, omega t is nothing but the parameter which is varying with respect to time, right? So omega t, if you go on substituting, say for from 0 to pi, right? 0 to 180. Go on substituting. So say for example sine 10, okay? Vm into sine 10, you will get some value, okay? Say that may be like, let me put it to some full screen, all right? If you are getting that value, substituting Vm sine 10, say the value what you're getting is somewhere here, all right? So substitute Vm into sine 20. So you might get some value here. For 30 somewhere here, 40 somewhere here, 50 somewhere here, 90, right? That is maximum what you have. So for different V values, you will be getting different values here, okay, across 0 to pi, which means that you will get, say, n number of infinite values, right? When you add it all or when you plot it, what you are getting is this waveform, all right? And all these responses, what we see or what we have observed in our previous sessions also, it is with respect to these inputs. The outputs will be with respect to the inputs. Means what? It is again varying with respect to omega t. The output also will be continuously depending on the input, and it will be varying across omega t. That say what we are plotting here is from 0 to pi or sometimes 2 pi. Okay, the response is what I have seen from your IATs, what you have given here. Say this is your input. You have given the firing angle somewhere alpha here. Say it is at say 40 degrees or 45 degrees. Okay, and your output is starting somewhere here. That is not the case, right? We know that the output voltage will appear the moment the thyristor is turned on. That is what, see, when interpretation, if the waveform itself is wrong, then how do you expect that the explanation would be right? See, keep it in your mind, power electronics is completely about waveforms. Whatever you're explaining, the circuits, its operation, its results, it's all depicted or interpreted in terms of waveforms. If you're perfect in waveforms, the evaluator will not even go to read the explanation because the picture speaks 1,000 words. If your output is exactly following your input, okay, say with respect to the time, the position, all those things, then immediately you will be getting complete marks. So to understand the operation again, like to what level the capacitor charges and when it reaches the voltage that is required to trigger the gate terminal where the thyristor will get turned on, all these operations or explanation, it is depicted or shown here in terms of waveforms. If your waveforms itself is not proper, then explanation obviously will be wrong. Even though if you have written correctly, but the presentation in waveform is wrong, right? So obviously the evaluator also will feel that explanation also would have been wrong because what is shown in the picture is wrong. Okay, so that's why I wanted to spend some time here to let you know, please practice waveforms. Waveforms are the ones which will clearly explain the operation of the circuit. Okay, so all right, coming back to this dual converter, I hope I'm clear. You are with me? Can you acknowledge someone? Or you have just left me to speak? Okay, yes. Thank you. Fine. Okay, so moving on, where were we? We were here. All right. So let us discuss the output here, the waveforms. What does they indicate? As you can again see, if V01 and V02 are the instantaneous output voltages of converter 1 and converter 2 respectively. So the circulating current can be found by integrating these instantaneous voltage difference, that is instantaneous voltage difference, will give us the circulating current. So what do we have to do? We have to integrate these two waveforms, right? So the waveforms, as you can observe clearly, what is shown here is exactly same as the waveforms of the full converter. Okay, again I repeat, if you have understood full converter, you will be able to interpret these waveforms as well. Okay, so observe the output of the first converter. Let's observe this. So the thyristor 1 and thyristor 2 will start conducting at say alpha 1. Okay, alpha 1, and observe here it will continue to conduct till pi plus alpha 1. Why? Because the load is highly inductive, right? So because of that, the you will be getting output till pi plus alpha 1, or the thyristor T1 and T2 in the first half cycle will be conducting till pi plus alpha 1. I hope you are able to interpret that. And the other set of thyristors, that is T3 and T4, starts conducting from pi plus alpha 1, and it will continue to conduct till 2 pi plus alpha 1, right? So continuing here. Okay, so this 2 pi plus alpha 1, it is indicated here between 0 to alpha 1. So this is the response what you can interpret or understand here. So let me repeat. If you are firing the converter 1 at alpha 1, then thyristor T1 and T2 will start conducting. So that's why you are getting this response, and T1 and T2 will continue to conduct till pi plus alpha 1. All right. In the reverse cycle, that is next half cycle, if you observe T3 and T4. Okay, let's go back to the circuit. Yeah. I hope you are able to interpret this. This is a full bridge. Yeah. In the first half cycle, T1 and T2 will be conducting, and in the next cycle, T3 and T4 will be conducting. Okay. So that is what is shown here. In the next cycle, T3 and T4 will be conducting from pi plus alpha 1, and it will continue to conduct till 2 pi plus alpha 1, which is shown here. Okay. And this part, as you know, because the load is highly inductive, you are getting this output in the negative cycle, right? So one important point to note here, observe here, this part is shown as minus Vm sin omega t. Okay, so this you should be able to interpret the that is during the negative half cycle of the input supply, you have this output, isn't it? Where T3 and T4 will be conducting. So during the negative half cycle of the input, the output of the converter 1 is exactly equal to the opposite of the inverter, isn't it? This is your input, so which is shown here in the dotted lines. So the output of the converter, okay, it is here, which is exactly opposite to the input. That's why it is shown minus Vm sin omega t. So this is very important point. You have to observe that. So output is reverse that of the input Vm sin omega t. Input is your Vm sin omega t, right? And output is opposite to that of the input. That's why it is minus Vm sin omega t. That is where between pi plus alpha 1 to pi from during this duration. Okay, so the input what should have been is denoted here in the dotted line. So this is the output of the first converter, that is converter 1. So coming to converter 2, this is your response. Please note the second converter operates at the same point. Okay, the thyristors of second converter are triggered at pi minus alpha 1. Observe here, because of the equation number 4. I hope you remember that. All right. The thyristor of second converter will conduct from pi minus alpha 1 till 2 pi minus alpha 1. So this is the response of converter 2. So it should be noted that the thyristors of Converter 1 and converter 2 should have phase difference of 180, right? We have already stated that. So between pi minus alpha 1 and 2 pi minus alpha 1, thyristors T1 dash and T2 dash will conduct from 2 pi minus alpha 1 to pi minus alpha 1 to 2 pi minus alpha 1, and T3 dash and T4 dash will be conducting from 2 pi minus alpha 1 to 3 pi minus alpha 1, which is not shown here. Okay, so which can be interpreted here between 0 to pi minus alpha. So the next cycle here, to maintain simplicity, you can imagine that response here, 0 to pi minus alpha. I hope you are able to understand. I'll repeat. The converter to output as represented here, it is because of the conduction of thyristor T1, T2, T1 dash, T2 dash, which is between pi minus alpha 1 and 2 pi minus alpha 1, and T3 dash and T4 dash, which will be here between time duration 2 pi minus alpha 1 and 3 pi minus alpha 1. So 3 pi minus alpha 1, this duration you can observe here, 0 to pi minus alpha 1. Okay, so again, you should have all these visualization, understanding all those things. Only then you will be able to interpret the waveforms. All right. So to calculate the circulating current, as I mentioned earlier, we have to find the instantaneous voltage difference between V01 and V02. Okay, so this will be the load voltage as I mentioned earlier. Right, V01 and V02. So if you take the instantaneous voltage difference between V01 and V02, which is our load voltage, so which we get by subtracting V02 minus that is from V01. Okay, so as is shown here, VR of T is equal to V01 minus V02, subtracting the second from the first. Okay, now just look at the waveform, just see if you are able to understand this. How do you get this response? This VR of T, it is nothing but V01 minus V02, V01 minus V02. You are subtracting the second from the first. All right, observe here, the output of the first converter is negative, and the output of the second converter is positive. So minus of plus is what? Minus of plus is minus. I hope you are able to interpret. Okay, that is between 0 to alpha 1. Between 0 to alpha 1, the output is minus of plus, which will be minus. So this is your instantaneous voltage difference, what you are getting. And between alpha to that is alpha 1 to say pi minus alpha 1, alpha 1 to pi minus alpha 1. So if you take the instantaneous difference there, observe here, plus minus of plus, so it is 0, right? Plus the output from the converter 1 plus from output of converter 2, so plus minus plus is minus, sorry, 0, sorry. So between pi minus alpha 1 to pi minus alpha 1 to pi, observe the output there, the instantaneous voltage difference. So plus minus of minus will be plus. Between, I'll repeat, between pi minus alpha 1 and pi. Okay, so the response is plus minus of minus will be equal to plus. So this approximation you can continue for the rest of the waveform there. It repeats and it is same. So this is about the waveform, that is the output of the converter 1, output of converter 2, and how do we get the load voltage, that is taking the instantaneous voltage difference, which will eventually give us the circulating current. Okay, so what is important to notice here from these waveforms is that though the circulating current or the instantaneous voltage difference exactly starts at pi minus alpha 1 or 2 pi minus alpha 1, here what you have to notice, where it ends is not clear. Okay, not clear in the sense what it can, this point can vary, where this output ends, this can vary. How does it depend? It depends on your inductive load or the inductive features of the load, right? So based on that, this response where it ends will be varying. Okay, so that's why we always have to take the starting limit of the inverter. Okay, that is from 2 pi minus alpha 1, and the higher limit will be always omega t, because this will be always varying. All right, so the equations of the same, okay, is shown here. That is how to derive or get the circulating current. Should we continue, or all right? Let's finish this. How to get the instant, circulating current. So integrating between, as I mentioned, 2 pi minus alpha 1 to omega t. Okay, so IR is your circulating current, what you are calculating. So here, as you can see, it is 1 by omega LR, and you are integrating VR. VR is your output voltage, right? So since omega is what we are getting, that is one full cycle, and LR is used as the because you have to integrate this voltage and you're trying to find the current, right? So since V is equal to IR, so the current I is equal to V by R. So that satisfies or this condition here. So 1 by omega LR integration 2 pi minus alpha 1, the starting limit, and the higher limit is omega t, and you're integrating your VR. VR is nothing but the difference of the instantaneous output voltages of converter 1 and converter 2. So that's why you are substituting V01 minus V02. All right. So splitting this, if you observe, 2 pi minus alpha 1 omega t, V01, you can write it as minus Vm sine omega t. Go back to the waveform and just see, right? So here it is your minus Vm sine omega t. Okay, so that you will substitute. I hope you are able to interpret that, right? Okay, so minus, substitute V02 there, which is your positive Vm sine omega t. Substituting the limits and integrating sine, which is nothing but minus of cos. As you can see, your circulating current IR, it is given by 2 Vm by omega LR, which is your inductive load. So cos omega t minus cos alpha 1. Okay, so I will stop here so that I will leave this part or this part of the discussion of dual converter to you, wherein you have you will just go through how to calculate the circulating current and how it depends on the waveforms here, cos omega t and alpha 1. So if we change the values, say from minimum to maximum, all right, so which parameters will be responsible, that will give us minimum current and maximum current. To understand that, I leave that part to you. Okay, so this expression you have got, the circulating current represented as IR, given by 2 Vm by omega LR cos omega t minus cos alpha 1. So I leave this part to you to understand how much or what range of the circulating current will be varying from minimum to maximum value based on these parameters. Okay, so just go through that. Again, we can get back on that discussion if you are interested with. All right. I'll stop here. If you have any queries, if you want me to repeat anything, you can just ask. Or if you have anything to ask regarding anything, you can ask. So in A section, we have 57 present and B section 52. All right. I know some of your friends have left, which I've noted down. Let's see what would be the reason to leave the meeting. Okay, Carlton, you have anything to say? Okay. Anyone, you have anything to share, anything to ask?